Hello and welcome to another edition of the Father and Son Pastime Podcast. I'm Patrick.
I'm Kevin. How are you?
That's my dad. Dad, we are mid-January right now. I would say most of the off-seasons, it's pretty much over.
Correct.
Pass us by.
Yeah.
We don't have spring training or even the World Baseball Classic to, watch or get excited about yet. So I figured we'd shoot a video about the winners and losers of the off-season. All the big free agents are gone. Correa is finally re-signed with Minnesota. That whole drama, clearly funny.
Who knew he was going to bring that up? That's one of the ones he got right on.
Yes. As of right now, there's still a few free agents, especially with our honorable mentions, that he's in the lead. It could change,
There's
but
like
I don't think
six
it will.
left.
We'll see. Don't want to give him the money just yet, but he probably will end up winning. Now, obviously, there could be some trade, something like that before opening day happens, but for me, the offseason is pretty much said I'm okay declaring some of these people winners or losers. Some of these people have had great off seasons. I would love to talk about some of these most improved teams. But we're not going to sit on the fence. We're not going to be in the middle. A lot of these, ESPN, MLB Network things, put them in this middle category, kind of winners, kind of losers. We're going to be definitive. There's 30 teams. Even if you just improved a little bit, you could be a winner. And obviously, if you didn't improve, you're going to be a loser. Dad, it's obviously very subjective. Things that I'm taking into consideration, I'd love to hear kind of your process, was did you improve your team? Is that through free agency? Is that through trades? Is that getting rid of bad contracts? Did you just improve within your division? With your changes, do you expect to win more games? If there's the losers are the people that didn't do as much, if they told their fans or they set these off-season goals and October, November, they didn't really hit any of them, that's a loss for me. And if they just lost maybe a keystone piece due to free agency, due to maybe they traded it away and it just didn't improve their team, it hurt them in some way, that's kind of how I look at it. Anything different for your process?
I'm thinking how I look at things is some teams did very well retaining the people that were free agents, brought them back, i.e. the Yankees. They added some pieces. But for some teams, they brought back the key components to make themselves so they didn't go downhill. They stay status quo. There's teams going to be in that genre as well. So I'm just thinking as I went through, I looked at losses, gains, and then retention. So those are my criteria that I went through the teams. And there were some teams that said, hey, we can't lose X, Y, and Z. And they retained them, and that made them not be a loser in that regard.
We'll find out. I may have some interesting losers then, because if I found anyone that did status quo, they're a loser to me. Because if you did not consistently try to improve your team, I'm not trying to give away a pick here, the Padres or the Rangers consistently improve their team pretty much every week of the offseason.
Not done yet.
Right. I agree with that, actually. There's going to be more roster additions before opening day. They were people that constantly were making moves to try to better their teams. If your team didn't sign a big free agent or didn't do a big trade or just had a really boring offseason and you didn't improve your team, that's a loss for me. Status quo is losing, unless somehow you're the Astros, or status quo, well, you were the World Series team last year, that probably is a good pitcher for success, so probably do that. Everyone else should be trying to improve your team to get better. So let's get into it. Let's start with the American League. Actually, before we do that, we're talking about offseason. One of the best parts of our offseason, boom, a little dual bobblehead. And I love how we're sitting and where we are with this bobblehead right now. So a little dual bobblehead, courtesy of a Christmas gift with our Father and Son Pastime Podcast shirts. It will be on our little table or desk all the times we do podcasts.
Very emotional Christmas gift.
It was very nice.
Yeah.
It was very nice. So they'll be nodding and agreeing with everything I'm saying, clearly, and I'll get them to go sideways for you when they're listening to you. Okay, Dad, let's. Do you want to do winners or losers first?
You tell me where you want to go.
Well, let's start on a positive note. I'm having a positive day. Let's keep it going. I will start in the AL East, Dad. I don't see the big winner of the AL East, but I have two AL East winners, and that is the Yankees and the Blue Jays. Obviously, the other three are not winners. We'll get to why when we get to cover the losers. But Yankees and Blue Jays, I'll start with Yankees as you get your notes together.
Yeah, well, I agree with both of those. I have them as winners as well.
So the other three are going to be losers for you.
Correct.
Oh, all right, we're in the same kind of boat right now. That I would give the edge to the Blue Jays for the more of a winner of an offseason. The Yankees, re-signing Judge, re-signing Rizzo, shuffling your bullpen around, just kind of, again, kept you status quo. The Yankees could have really lost this offseason.
Oh, very, yeah, huge.
Yeah. The reason they won is Carlos Rodon. Getting an ace or a 2-level caliber pitcher under Cole does make their team better. Their issues for me, and if Yankees fans, feel free to chime off in the comments because I think I agree with you, is you didn't make your offense any better this offseason. And you're still not better than the Astros. Now, maybe you'll do some trades mid-season, especially for maybe a left fielder or to replace anyone that gets hurt throughout the year. But I don't see this team still beating the Astros. I still don't see them competing with them. They made their team a skosh better with Carlos Rodon. So they're a winner to me. Your thoughts?
I'm thinking with Rodon, I think it's a huge addition to their starting rotation, and they came up with a relief pitcher as well. So their pitching has been improved. And don't forget, Rizzo re-upped as well.
I know. When you resign someone, like we'll get to the Red Sox with Devers, obviously, giving someone an extension or resigning them isn't a win to your offseason because it's an expectation of Yankee fans to have kept Rizzo and to have kept Judge. They could have moved the needle more. I know there's some Yankee fans out there that, sure, go ahead. Trade the prospects for a better shortstop. Sure, let's go sign one of these big four shortstops. They weren't even connected to one single one.
Don't forget they got 2 shortstops come up.
I know, but there's some adamant Yankee fans that have not had a World Series victory, Dad, going on 14 years now, that have no trouble mortgaging the future for a win-now approach.
I know. I think some teams are looking at the big picture of the payroll and going, when do we kind of cease and desist? I think the Dodgers got to that plateau. They're like, we've gone over a luxury tax. We need to bring it on down a little bit. Yankees could be. Don't forget, Judge was a very big contract.
I know. And he deserved probably every penny. And he took a less than what he could have been offered by either San Diego and San Francisco.
If he passed his physical.
Right. I think he clearly would have. There's no Correa. But the Yankees are pretty much, with the addition of Carlos Rodon, the same Yankees heading into this year.
I agree.
They had a great year last year. They're still going to run into the
second half, not so much.
I know. August was the worst in Yankee history. They're still going to run into the buzzsaw of the Houston Astros in the playoffs. We'll get to the Astros, but I still think the Astros are better and are much more proven in the playoffs than the Yankees. So they didn't make their team the best in the AL, which I think in a way was the goal for some fans at least.
Mm-hmm.
They still made their team overall a little bit better with Rodon. I think it still is not enough in many Yankee fans' eyes. We're agreeing that they're winners. That's all we're talking about here. You're satisfied. I was surprised that they didn't do more.
I agree, but I think the thing to keep in mind in the next 4 weeks, I think the trading will step up in the major leagues now because I think most of the marquee free agents are gone. I think you're going to see more and more trades like we saw last week. We saw the mini trades happening. We saw kind of like a big one with the Dodgers and Miami. So I think you're going to see more trades in the last 4 weeks before spring training. So maybe they're going to be active in that market.
Let me talk about why I think the Blue Jays they bettered their team more than the Yankees again. Both these teams are winners. Both are playoff teams. I don't see anyone else really in the East being at the level of the Yankees and Blue Jays. Could one of those other teams get a wild card? Crazy things happen. But Yankees and Blue Jays will be vying for the top spot of the East all year. Blue Jays completely reshuffled their outfield. I didn't like the Teoscar trade at first. I did make their bullpen better, but when you bring in Kevin Kiermaier for his defense in center, and honestly his defense in left with Varsho as well, playing kind of all over, possibly catcher, young, lots of team control.
DH.
They had a surplus of catchers, so that's not a loss by getting rid of one in order to get this fantastic outfielder. I mean, he may be winning the Gold Glove as an outfielder this year in the American League. So that's fantastic. Belt's a little bit of addition that doesn't move the needle for me, but Chris Bassett adding to that rotation, which I already think is a pretty stacked rotation, especially when healthy. Fantastic. I think there could still be some mid-season trades as they try to compete for a better postseason. But for their offseason, big win for me. They made necessary additions. They weren't afraid to make trades, to trade high prospects with Gabriel Moreno. I think this is a team that's going to be fun to watch.
You forgot Eric Swanson, which comes
Teoscar trade.
That's a big addition to the bullpen.
I don't think he's that big of an addition.
He had a heck of a year.
I'd rather have a power hitter. I'd rather
Okay.
have a Teoscar. But if they had all these moves planned to get Kevin Kiermaier and to get Dalton Varsho, cool. I thought their bullpen was okay. I don't think it was a reason they went out of the playoffs. I mean, I really think it was just hitting. So we'll see. I mean, they clearly went with bullpen and defense this offseason. That was the focus. Or I guess just overall pitching and defense. We'll see how that stacks up. But I still think they're winners. I'm glad we're on the same page there. Anything to add specifically?
No, I think you're covering it quite well.
Okay.
You're like, I have my same notes.
Well, why don't you talk about the winners, if maybe just singular here, of the AL Central? We'll stick with winners.
Okay. Right now, I think, look at my notes, Cleveland was a winner.
Clearly, yep.
Cleveland went into the offseason with one glaring need, and they addressed that. The offense was really tough. Defensively, they were good. Up the middle, they were fantastic. They went further in the playoffs than I thought. They're an exciting team with great young players that will just get better. But the addition of Josh Bell and Mike Zunino just were good. Both will add power numbers to Cleveland. Zunino. That's what I tried to say. May not be the hit for the high average, but he does have power. Josh Bell, if he's on and having a good year, is 25 to 30 home runs. That's what Cleveland needed the most, and I'm thinking that's why they won, is those two additions.
Mm-hmm. They didn't have a lot that they lost in the offseason either. So they were willing to spend money, which is new for Cleveland fans. And I still think, obviously, they're clearly the odds-on favorite to win the AL Central. Sometimes when you are clearly the best option out of the five, you may not feel the need to improve your team. But they were thinking postseason with Bell and Naylor being the first base DH combo. I don't like their defense either. Their defense at first base. I think Naylor's a bit better than Bell. So I do see some DH days for Bell. And then the younger Naylor coming up, Bo Naylor, at catcher, and Zunino. There could also be some platooning options between catcher and DH there. Impressive team. As long as no one really gets injured, I think there could be a really good team there. Do you have
speed and defense are their keys?
Yeah. Do you have any other winners in the Central?
Minnesota.
Yes, I do too. Just a little bit though. Just kind of like the Yankees, just a skosh. Tell me your thoughts there.
Well, Correa had to land somewhere.
Correa was re-signed, so I look at that as net neutral. But go ahead.
Vasquez is a huge addition.
I agree.
That, I think, there was a lot of teams after Vasquez. He could have fit into many, many teams. Many teams gave him, I think, probably equal contract or even a little bit better. But he will be a key to that Twin franchise, adding offense and also good defensive catching. And Joey Gallo, given a chance, may be able to supply some power. But the key was Vasquez.
Yeah. Joey Gallo is a Gold Glove outfielder. A lot of people forget about that because of his horrific season with New York last year. He could be one of those guys that just does really well in small markets. When he was in Texas, he was pretty good. Didn't do too well with New York and LA last year. With the shift being limited and being regulated this season, he was a guy that hit into the shift all the time. He hits 240 and hits 25, 30 home runs. That's a huge win for Minnesota. I like the Kyle Farmer addition from Cincinnati. Him playing probably third base, maybe kind of wherever in the infield they need him. Both him and Correa training a healthy Royce Lewis. I think it's fantastic. I don't look at what they could do here because I know there's so many position players with the Twins they'll be trading for pitching at some point. Christian Vasquez being that an anchor, complete opposite of Gary Sanchez, like actually good at catching, could really benefit this pitching staff and finally get some better numbers coming out of Minnesota in terms of wins. Again, not the favorite to win the Central, but did make their team better.
I think they're inching towards second place.
Where's the competition?
Yeah, I think if you talk to White Sox fans, they think they made their team a little bit better
They
in
did.
the offseason. Well, again, talking to the White Sox fans, but again, I think Vasquez with the idea of defensive catching, getting people, not stealing on them, I think that becomes a better, defensive club. And I think right now they might have a whole new spirit because they were thought that they lost Correa, and to get him back, I'm sure it really helped the team morale.
Yeah. Do you have any other AL Central winners? Are you a White Sox fan in the situation, or are
No.
you saying they're going to be losers? Because they were a tough call. We'll get to them, though.
They had the two key pieces.
Hold on. We'll get to them soon. We'll
Okay,
get to them
I'm
in the
sorry.
losers. But
Okay.
you have them as a loser.
I do.
Okay. We'll get them in the losers bracket.
Okay.
We'll call that ESPN 2.
Okay.
Shots fired.
Nope, that's it for the Central.
All right. So we're 4 for 4 right now with winners. For the AL West I have 4 out of 5 of those teams as winners. What do you have?
1, 2, 3, 4. 4.
You have 4 as well?
Yeah.
Even you. All right. So our AL is perfect. So we'll have debates probably in the NL. All right. Let me talk about 2. I'll take the lower seeded teams if you will. I'll talking about Rangers and Angels.
Okay.
Let's pick one. What you want me to start with?
You can do Houston.
No. I want to start with Rangers or Angels. Pick which one.
Rangers.
Okay. Rangers. I have the most improved team in baseball. Obviously, I'm going to ask you at the end most improved team in each league. Rangers for me are the most improved team in baseball. The rotation went from, hey, I think Martin Perez is on that team. Do they still have Jonathan Gray? To, holy hell, Jacob deGrom, Nate Eovaldi, Andrew Heaney, Jake Odorizzi. Oh, yeah, they still kept Jonathan Gray and Martin Perez. They have 6 starters, plus a bunch of other young guys like Dane Dunning and Glenn Otto from last year. They still have, that's trade bait. Some of those guys will be traded throughout the year. They didn't do much of the bullpen. They obviously really didn't improve the offense. I think they'll use some of that surplus pitching to improve the offense later. But just what a fantastic change. Getting DeGrom stole hearts of many Mets fans.
He's your ace.
But they're showing they have money. Oh, yeah, for sure, immediately. Obviously, if he's healthy, it's an even bigger win. But if he throws 20 games, 15 games, it's awesome. Seager and Semien are still going to be the mashers on that team. Rangers and Angels could have a sneaky surprise factor throughout this year. I'm very interested to watch. Anything about the Rangers before I get to the Angels?
Huge addition of a new manager. He will.
Yes, the Giants manager, old Giants manager.
Yeah, Bochy.
Yeah, a proven winner.
I think that will add a winning atmosphere to the club.
Good. Guy has 3 rings to show off.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that, if you're looking at additions, that's a good addition.
Yeah, great thought. I didn't think about manager. I didn't even take that into consideration for any of my teams.
Well, I do more research.
Did you take in injuries? Because I took in injuries for the losers.
I take in the front office.
Okay. All right. That's a good balance. They had the Angels. It's very weird to say this, but with a team that had Ohtani and Trout, they had one of the worst offenses in baseball last year, one of the lowest on-base percentages as a team. So their focus was both pitching and offense. I obviously love Hunter Renfroe. They bring him in. They bring in Brandon Drury, who had a fantastic breakout year.
Great addition.
And I am a little partial to Gio Urshela. I think he could be a nice platoon in a couple spots. But then you bring in Anderson from the Dodgers to improve your pitching staff. You bring in Estevez from the Rockies to improve your bullpen. He could play a little rotation too.
He's a great addition.
Yeah, he's a swingman.
He was probably the best player in the Rockies last year.
Yeah, well, it's not hard to do. You just have to show up. When I started this list, my first team of the losers were Rockies, and it's just every year. It's just they're always a loser.
Yeah.
The Angels, really good team. Obviously, if it clicks, they could be a playoff team. I'm okay saying that. It's a walk year for Ohtani. Keep that in mind, Angels fans. So hopefully you're good so you don't trade him midseason, or we're going to have another Juan Soto situation. But they're both big winners for me, Dad. I would say 1 and 2 in the American League for most improved teams in the American League.
I'm with you 100%.
Any other things?
No, you covered those really well. I think the Angels now have a winning atmosphere, and they brought in talent. And I think if you look at all the additions, I think the unsung hero is going to be Drury. I think he's going to help that club as much as Renfroe. And I think Estevez, again, is a huge addition to the staff.
Awesome. Yeah. Then I'll let you talk about Astros and Mariners. Pick which one you want to start with.
Let's go Astros.
Okay. Now, let me actually interject. A lot of people are going to be mad that we put them as winners, but we agree on this. They lost Justin Verlander, a Cy Young winner. Tell me why they're still winners.
I think they had a huge hole, and they filled it with a very good player. So
we're talking Jose Abreu.
Correct. So I think, he being in Houston on a winning ball club with, a winning manager, a manager that's in the dugout and is, alert and everything else, I think he becomes, so let's face it, Abreu could be an MVP many of the years he played.
He was an MVP.
Yeah. But I'm saying many of the years that he was playing on the south side of Chicago, he was up there in the top 5 year in and year out. So they add an MVP caliber player, that's huge. They have such a great farm system that they're actually just going to build from within. They still have a hole of catcher, if you ask me, but at the same time, I think they're going to be fine. But the addition of Abreu was the key component, and then kind of like re-signing Mateo was also big as well. But again, Abreu makes that team better, in my opinion, and they were such a good team last year. It's hard to see them. They may win 105 games again.
I think it's a great question if you're being asked, hey, the Astros lost a Cy Young winner, but they added an MVP. And if you, based off that alone, I'd rather take an MVP than a Cy Young winner on my team. An MVP, obviously if it's a position player, plays every day or almost every day, while a Cy Young is only pitching every 5 games. That's how it's better. You're going to have someone in your lineup every day that can make a difference. I like Gurriel. I think they could still bring him back in some, off the bench setting, a little pinch hitter. But Jose Abreu doing absolutely fantastic in Chicago, steady hitter, doesn't ever really get injured, always hits for power, average, can have a lot of fun with. If he gets a little opposite field power, goes to the Crawford boxes. A full healthy year of Brantley and McCullers should be fantastic for them. And I like Hunter Brown to be a big prospect for him coming out of the rotation.
Yeah.
But I hear the argument that if you lost a Cy Young and then you have the Orioles pitching staff, sure, that's a big loss. But if you have a Cy Young and you have the Astros pitching staff still behind them, you still have some fantastic. Valdez and Garcia and Christian Javier, those people really won you some games in the postseason, while Verlander was not good in the postseason. So I'd rather have Jose Abreu at first base playing pretty much every day than a Justin Verlander every 5th day. An old Justin Verlander.
And if you look at money going in and money going out, Abreu is a better investment.
I would not spend...
And don't forget how Houston is deep is in pitching.
I would not spend $40 million a year on a 40-year-old pitcher, no matter how good.
And get a 2-year contract.
Yeah. I think they did the right thing with letting him walk. I really do.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
Dad, Mariners. Why are they winners?
You know what? I like Seattle.
Same. But why are they winners?
Well, I love the 2 trades they made. Colton Wong, I think, is going to be a huge addition. They needed a second baseman in the worst way. Colton Wong, has that power. Defensively, he's very, very good. And then Hernandez really makes that outfield better. He's got power. I think that makes them so much better in their everyday lineup, and just to help with home runs and their power output and everything else. Seattle's lineup is so much better with those 2 people than without.
Yeah, this was like a little for me. Like, they improved slightly. They're never big with signings or big in free agency. They like to play out the trades and all that. That's their GM strategy.
Yes, he's a big trader.
Yeah, he is. They signed A.J. Pollock very recently. I don't think that moves the needle whatsoever. But if you listen to everything coming out of Seattle, that getting rid of Jesse Winker was a positive move because he was bad for the clubhouse or whatever. I like Jesse Winker personally. But if that's what Seattle's saying, and then they bring in an A.J. Pollock who has proven success, and Teoscar Hernandez to partner with Julio in center, they have a fantastic outfield. Still, it was when they tried Kyle Lewis, that hurt a little bit. I liked him, but they felt like they had to get rid of him. So I think it's a skosh better of a team. I'm curious to see how a full season of Ty France, he got a little injured last year. He's a fantastic first baseman. How this team can really rake this year and see what other additions they might do at the deadline.
I think they have a young team that they're banking on improvement of the young players.
There's certain young people on that team, and then there's certain older people on that team. So I actually think it's a good mix. Like A.J. Pollock is in his 30s,
right?
While Julio is in his 20, like 21. Like
yeah.
If you're 20, you're in your 20s. Like
yeah, but he's going to get better.
Yeah,
I mean, think about his rookie year and his demeanor and how he carried himself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a very mature young player that I think is just going to get better.
I hope that I do think he's a superstar, and I think most people in baseball would agree. But it's weird to see that 2020 was the Kyle Lewis year, and people started comparing him to Griffey. Jared Kelenic, when he got traded to the Mariners, people were like, "Wow, is this guy like another next Griffey? Is he going to be that good?" Both of them suck. Kyle had a concussion problem. That's really tough.
Yeah.
Kelenic just can't hit major league pitching. But Julio, I do think, is the sensation.
I think he's more athletic than the other two.
By far. But as long as he doesn't regress, I think this team should still be in the playoffs. Robbie Ray kind of had a very interesting year. Proven pitcher coming off a Cy Young year decides, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to change all of my pitches. And he just started throwing pitches he's never thrown before in his entire career. So
can't do that midstream.
Hopefully he can be more settled and come back to where he kind of pitched with the Blue Jays. But yeah, I do think they're winners. Dad, losers. So we agree. Yankees, Blue Jays, Cleveland, Twins, Astros, Mariners, Rangers, Angels, all winners. So that means our losers, Dad.
Yes.
Are the Red Sox, Orioles, Rays, White Sox, Tigers, Royals, and A's.
I am all losers.
All right, so we are dead set. You want to go work our way backwards? Stick with this West? All right.
Whatever you want to do.
The A's get less than 30 seconds. All right? The A's are a pathetic franchise. Always still be. Let's move them out of Oakland. They shouldn't trade their best player in Sean Murphy to...
Not for a great return, other than Kyle Muller, who they think is going to be a great left-handed pitcher.
They have like 10 starting pitchers right now in Oakland. I'm sure some will click. I doubt anyone's going to be like a Zito or a Hudson, but if they do, that'll be fun.
I think they're just trying to win 50 games.
I don't know, whatever.
They got the pitcher from Japan. That's a big question mark.
Ruzinski?
No, that was another one.
Oh, yeah. Right, Ruzinski played Korea for a while.
Right, and it's
who cares?
Fujinami.
Yeah.
So anyway,
add more. Let's just give me a team of pitchers. I'm done. Next.
Okay.
They don't deserve, just like the Rockies. They don't deserve to be talked about.
Okay.
Royals or Tigers, Dad? Which one first?
Let's go Royals.
Okay. They didn't do anything. Their biggest offseason move was to sign Ryan Yarbrough or Jordan Lyles.
That's what I had.
Which is nothing.
Correct. I think they're happy to float where they are and keep building through the draft. Some teams you look at like, why aren't you trying to get at least mid-level players? And there's some teams that are like, hey, I'm not even in the dance, so I'm just going to sit here and wait for the draft and build through the draft. Kansas City has some talent on their team, but without improving, they're still going to be bottom. They're going to win 70 games, maybe.
Tigers got worse somehow. I mean, you traded your only All-Star last year, Gregory Soto, for a backup center fielder of Matt Verling for the Phillies.
Yeah, great trade for the Phillies.
Candelario is now a Nat. I really don't know who's playing third base for them. I don't. Matt Boyd is not really an addition, in my opinion.
He's been hurt a lot.
Yeah.
And Lorenzen is, 500 pitcher.
Big deal.
Okay.
Yeah. They're losers. If Lorenzen or Boyd are your biggest, news of your offseason, but you traded away your only All-Star, that's a negative. It's a negative.
I agree, 100%. And, Cabrera's going to retire this year, which will clear a lot of money off the books. So maybe next year, they got a brand new GM, Harris, that used to be with the Cubs. Yeah. I think he has carte blanche to change his team, but getting, money off the payroll is going to be his first job, and then Cabrera's one, and then he's got to get rid of Baez and a few other guys. So I think they're going to start at the bottom and work their way up as well. But it's Scott Harris who's the GM, and we'll see what he can do.
They had such promise when they signed Baez, and there's rumors being linked to Correa. Long time ago. Feels like a long time ago. Dad, I'll start with the East.
Okay.
The Boston Red Sox are one of the biggest losers of the offseason. I knew this going in. They were never going to re-sign Xander Bogaerts, and honestly, if Padres give him an 11-year contract to a 41-year-old shortstop, so be it. But it's tough to see them do like bad moves. Some good moves. I figured they'd get Kalen Jansen. I did predict that. Justin Turner doesn't make any sense when you have Devers and then you extend Devers, so I guess there's like platooning third base DH. Trevor Story is going to be injured for almost all the year. So we don't really have a second baseman or shortstop.
Which I think surprised everybody.
Because Kike can't play all three positions. So even if you move the center fielder to second or short, then you have two other holes. Christian Arroyo is not a starter. Yoshida could be a Rookie of the Year. We don't know. He could be as good of a Rookie of the Year as like Ichiro Suzuki. Probably won't. Hope Cassis has fun. I don't know, man. It just is weird.
I think Justin Turner might end up playing a little first base. I know. It's all over the place. They try to improve their bullpen a little bit. Everything he did was little moves instead of, they lost 3 very good players that they really didn't replace. And that's the real big picture is to lose 3 mainstays of your team and not bring in anybody who is at star potential. It's going to hurt. You just wondered if they're going to be a 500 team.
They're not.
So
and
the farm system's not good, by the way.
No. I had this conversation. I mean, they designated Jeter Downs for assignment, who was one of the biggest prospects in baseball a couple years ago. Centerpiece of the Mookie Betts trade.
Yeah.
That I had this debate with a Yankees fan. I'm curious your input as well. So in the past 20 years, the Yankees have won World Series title. The Red Sox have 4. But the Yankees have been above 500 all of those seasons, and I think they've been in the playoffs like 18 or 19 of those 20 years. So consistently in the playoffs, but only 1 ring. Now the Red Sox have won 4 championships. The 2004 curse, the 2007, 2013, and 2018, which was 119 wins. Not too many years ago removed from the 119 wins. But also, in those 20 years, they've had 4 of the worst seasons in franchise history. 2020 counts as a record. Last year was pathetic. There was the year before 2013 where they traded Adrian Gonzalez and Carl Crawford. Remember that? So what would you rather have as a fan? 4 World Series titles, but 4 flops and everything else was kind of average. Or pretty much 20 consecutive winning seasons, but only 1 title.
I go with the consecutive seasons because you always think you have a chance. You're always in the race.
Being a Red Sox fan, I will stick with the Red Sox because I rather see championships and not be teased pretty much every year.
Okay.
It's just that expectation. Like right now, it's actually, for me, fun to be a Red Sox fan because I can just go to a game cheaply. I can enjoy, hey, they won today. That's awesome. Let's go. And not have the expectation of Yankee fans do is like, they won today. Right, that's what they're supposed to do. It's just how different fans approach the sport. You want to move on to the Rays or the Orioles?
Can I tell a quick story about Boston? They did such a poor job at the deadline by not getting rid of some players, cost them some very high draft choices. If they would have just made some moves with Bogaerts, Eovaldi, Martinez, and all that stuff, they would have had like 3 or 4 compensation picks. But by not doing anything, they lost all of it. So by them standing, in quicksand and not doing anything, cost them dearly for their future, and that would really hurt as well.
Off the top of my head, I think starters of 2018, it's just Sale and Devers that still have a World Series ring on their finger.
Yeah.
I think everyone else is new. They might have been in the organization, but a rookie or definitely not a starter.
Yeah.
Side note here, Red Sox fans, I wish we didn't extend Devers. I wish we traded him for nothing, so we could or something. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Just traded him so Heim could be fired and we could actually have someone with talent. To run the organization because he has been the worst GM since coming into 2018, trading Mookie, letting Xander walk. He could have completed that with trading Devers.
Yeah, they had the money for Devers. Why didn't they have the money for Bogaerts?
Well, they have the money for both. They have the money for Betts, too.
I know.
They chose not to be in. The Red Sox and the Dodgers, I know we're going to get to the Dodgers, but them shopping small, playing poor, whatever you want to call it, is terrible. It's terrible for the game. 2 major markets saying, we don't want to be in the luxury tax. Screw you. Screw you. We have the Padres, one of the smallest markets in baseball. I don't even know if they have a TV channel in San Diego. That's how small they are.
Yeah.
They are consistently overspending. I'm going to talk about the Braves in a little bit, too, because they're like, we don't want to re-sign Freddie Freeman or Dansby Swanson because we don't have the money. But we have all this other money.
Murphy, yeah.
It's just bullshit. I'm sorry.
Selective economics.
It's what I do like about the Yankees. They will, hey, we're the Yankees. If we have to spend money to be in the postseason, we will.
We'll write a check.
We're not going to fall below 500. Like, that's beyond a failure. It's a winning franchise. The Red Sox, Dodgers, and a little bit, I'll talk about the Braves, I think is bad to see them not as competitive with spending money. Rays or Orioles?
Let's go Orioles.
Okay. The Orioles, the reason they're losers for me is they told their fans had these high expectations, we're going to be in on some top-level free agents, especially left-handed starters. They were explicitly clear in that, and their biggest addition is Kyle Gibson.
5-point-something ERA.
Let's trade for James McCann. He was good 6 years ago. Sounds like an Oriole already. Let's go get Adam Frazier. Remember when he was an All-Star? Sounds like an Oriole already.
And then he becomes Ben Zobrist? Is that what he becomes?
Yeah, probably last second baseman. Yeah. I think Urias could be more of the Ben Zobrist than Frazier. But yeah. It is rough.
Yeah, I mean...
They didn't improve their team.
And the GM said at the end of the year that they had a surprisingly good year. They told the fans, we're going to be competitive. We're going to go out and be active in the free agent market. If you really think about it, they weren't. No. Because McCann was a trade. Gibson was like, no one else really was hunting him. So I'm thinking, again, it was not good. And I'm thinking Baltimore's done for the offseason.
I think they are too.
Yeah. And that's a shame.
Just a lot of high expectations. And a lot of Oriole fans thought like they could get Carlos Rodon.
Verlander was bandied about.
I don't think that would have been smart anyways.
No, but I'm just saying that was a name that was out there.
Kate Upton's not coming to Baltimore, Dad. I'm sorry to tell you that.
Crab cakes?
I'm sorry. She's a southern girl with what's warm or a city girl. She's not.
She's got to go shopping.
Big city girl. Yeah. There's what do we have? We have just nothing. She's used to much more. Or Sean Manai or something like that. So just the lack of they moved the wall back to get these free agents, and they didn't do that. They could have got Kyle Gibson because they had Jordan Lyles, or the same kind of pitcher.
That's a good point.
So I think there's going to be some regression, some sophomore slump for a couple of these guys. I'm rooting for them, but is it all going to click again when now the Orioles are going to be super scouted? I don't think so. Still could be a playoff team. The Orioles, Rangers, Angels could be that last fighting spot for the 6th spot.
Okay.
Rays. Let's shit talk the Rays. It's my favorite thing to do, Dad. Dad, who's playing first base for them? Who's starting catcher?
They do need a lot of help, and they're thin. They lost a lot of big pieces, and they only added Zach Eflin, is from the Phillies. So that was their only addition that I saw in my research.
Yes.
But they really lost some big, important pieces of their clubhouse. So I'm thinking
a staple.
A lot of experience as well.
I mean, there's been, to me, 2 memorable Tampa Bay Rays. That's Evan Longoria and Kevin Kiermaier. They lost Kevin Kiermaier. Obviously, they had full intention to let him walk. Kluber was there for, a year, whatever. Zunino was there for a couple years, gone, and they traded Choi, who I liked at first base, to the Pirates, and he's probably going to actually do well in Pittsburgh. Not a dome. Beautiful ballpark. Talk about opposite ballparks. But yeah, it's just strange to me that there's some talent on this team, but they don't realize it. And there's already rumors about Tyler Glasnow. Once he gets healthy, he gets traded. So yeah, I'm going to root against the Rays. I think it'll be a fun battle for the last place between the Rays and the Red Sox. Everyone believes in Rays magic. I think their pixie dust is out.
I think they rely on their farm system so much that well is going to run dry.
Mm-hmm. It has to.
Yeah, I agree. And they won last year. Some of the games they won, I'm like, how in the world this team won as many games they did with that lineup? God only knows. But again, they had a strong bullpen, some strong starting pitching, a little bit of defense, but they didn't score any runs.
If I hit the ball hard on the concrete, it'll bounce over their bad shortstops head, and then I'll get a double somehow because I'm fast because I'm a Tampa Bay Ray. I don't know. They play
or hit the ceiling.
Right. If I hit a ring, it's a double. I'm not going to get a ring in Tampa, but I'll hit a ring.
That's pretty good.
Dad, let's move on to the NL. Let's see where we differ. Let's start with the East. Kind of like what we did there, like the panning back and forth. Winners for me, Dad, because I know we're going to have a difference here. Winners for me were only two. Mets and Phillies.
Okay.
For the East.
I had Atlanta as a winner.
Let's first talk about Atlanta. I'll be positive. I want to hear why you think they're a winner.
Okay. Joe Jimenez. I think he is a huge addition. They stole him from Detroit. He will help that bullpen immensely. Sean Murphy, I think, was a huge addition. They didn't give up that much, in my opinion, and they also got Nick Anderson. So between those three guys, I'm thinking that made that team better. I think Sean Murphy, it might be in the top 5 catchers of the major leagues.
Defensively, at least.
Yes. So that's what helps Atlanta, in my opinion. The jury's still out of who's going to play shortstop and everything. But right now, their bullpen's been enhanced, pitching's been enhanced, catching's been enhanced. I think it makes Atlanta just a little bit better than they were.
When you lead off with Joe Jimenez as the best part of your offseason, I had to take fun of that. Career WAR, negative 0.9. 2022 WAR, obviously on a Tigers team, was only 0.4. Good, doesn't get injured. I understand that. Probably going to be pretty good. The Braves will make him even better.
I think they needed a setup guy, so he came in a trade, and I'm thinking that made their bullpen was not the best. I think that added an arm to their bullpen. I think last year he had a decent year with the Tigers.
I look at it again. I look at coming in, coming out. You are losing a franchise piece of Dansby Swanson, another franchise piece in another offseason, Atlanta, and say you're not having enough money for him. Say you're not going to want to spend over the luxury tax. So you let him walk. Becomes a Chicago Cub. We'll talk about the Cubs. You don't have a shortstop. Arcia could work. And then Vaughn Grissom, who is not a shortstop. He's a second baseman.
Yeah. I'm wondering why they didn't get heavier in the offseason on replacing him, because there's people out there, and there's still a few fringe shortstop they can rely on. But I think Dansby was, again, a huge loss. I'm surprised they let him go. He's a hometown kid.
Yeah. Vanderbilt, right? Yeah.
Well, Vanderbilt's in Tennessee, but he was raised in Atlanta.
They like the SEC schools. And
correct. Oh, yeah. I'm with you 100%.
So when Sean Murphy's a good catcher. Fully agree there. When a team trades for a catcher, I think it's a safe assumption, Dad, to think they need a catcher. But not when they have Contreras and Travis d'Arnaud.
Yeah.
And then in the trade, they sent Contreras to Brewers for what seemed like nothing. Good pick for the Brewers.
Yeah, that was a good trade.
Again, if this was the Red Sox getting Sean Murphy and they gave up a lot for him, I'd be like, this is great. It's a great addition. Who the hell is Reese McGuire now? So that's great. But when you have two fantastic catchers or a catcher DH platoon option, I don't know why you needed Murphy. So I don't think he adds a lot of value to that core of catchers. The left fielder, a lot of people in Atlanta liked Adam Duvall. Not the best in offense, but a Gold Glove outfielder. Could play all positions, really.
Just had a down year.
And Ozuna or Rosario are kind of your left field DH options. You don't have a shortstop. I think outside catcher, your infielders and outfielders got defensively worse. Your pitching's good. Pitching's always going to be good in Atlanta. You got some great youth there. But I don't know how athletic Vaughn's going to be at short. Maybe he's got a great ceiling. But Eddie Rosario and Marcell Ozuna working left field, tracking balls, throwing things in. I'm telling my righties to hit early, and I'm telling my lefties to hit late. Harris and Acuna are great, but I just think there's enough holes in that, especially in the NL East. You saw what the Mets were doing, and you saw the Phillies get better.
Yeah.
You had to do more, and you didn't. I still think they're a great team. I think they're going to be in the playoffs. I just think they're more of a third-place team, and I think they're a loser of the offseason.
And I think Swanson was one of their leaders, to be quite honest.
I like Swanson.
Yeah. So.
All right, Dad, so let's stay with winners then. We talked your winner. We talked one of my losers. So we just mentioned the Mets and the Phillies. Let's talk about the Phillies. I have Phillies as like a runner-up to most improved.
They did a great job this offseason.
They did a great job. Trey Turner, crazy long contract, sure. but now they have a pretty set infield. I mean, Trey Turner is going to be stealing bases. Real Muto is also going to have someone just as fast as him.
Think about their leadoff hitter last year compared to what their leadoff hitter this year is going to be.
I know.
You know who their leadoff was last year, right?
They had
Schwarber.
They did have Schwarber a few times. They had him at batting second a few times.
But think about...
They had Segura at first.
Yeah, think about going from Schwarber to Trey Turner with speed and everything else. That improved their offense, exponentially, as soon as that happened. So, that was big.
Walker for Syndergaard seems like a wash to me. I know Harper's going to be injured, but they added Kimbrel and Soto to their bullpen. One of those guys is going to click, if not both.
And Matt Stram.
Yeah, he's a Red Sox, so he's not going to be good. But Soto and Kimbrel. I'm mean on the Red Sox right now. I'm fine with that.
Soto was a great trade, great addition. A left-handed power reliever. That was a great trade.
Yeah.
So if the Phillies had a weakness, it was their bullpen. They have made their bullpen better.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Mets, obviously non-Correa Mets here, still made their team better.
By leaps and bounds.
Leaps and bounds. They had such an exit with everyone in their bullpen left due to free agency. And they brought back almost everybody in what it felt like. I mean, they added Brooks Raley. They kept bringing the Trumpets Diaz. They got Ottavino back. David Robertson went from the Phillies to the Mets. Who knows what secrets he might be sharing there. Senga, who knows? Underrated pickup. No one was really talking about that because obviously they added...
Highly recruited, though.
Justin Verlander. I know. And Quintana's, I think, a positive addition to that team. They're going to add more. They have such depth. They have such... I mean, they gave up McCann with money to the Orioles because we're never going to play him. He doesn't add value to our team. That was a former All-Star. They're solid. If they can stay healthy, obviously, if everyone stays healthy, they're the best team in the East. It's just injuries with the ages that could hurt them.
I agree 100%. Re-signing Nemo and then Diaz was huge. So that makes their off-field so much better. And Diaz is one of the best closers in the major leagues. So they're stacked every way you looked at it. They still are good at third base. Even Correa didn't end up there, but they still got two very good players at third base. So they're not hurting too bad.
Yeah.
So.
Some of my New York friends say that there's a serious team in New York and there's a fun team in New York. And it's really cool if you're the Mets to be considered the fun team.
Yeah.
Yeah. In ownership and in players.
Oh, yeah. Anything goes.
Yeah. Dad, let's move to the Central. So
Did you know, real quickly, the owner of the Mets did a survey to all the fans, how you get to the ballpark. He said, tell me how I can improve getting people to the ballpark, because I guess getting to the field, City Field, is not the easiest thing in the world. And they said put more bike lanes so we can ride our bikes from the Queens neighborhood into that. He said sure. So he's working with the city of New York to put bike lanes to get to the Mets Stadium.
Dude's a damn billionaire. Of course he's going to do it. What's a bike lane to a billionaire?
But I like the whole idea. Is like, hey, we need fans. Yeah. What can I do to get you to the ballpark?
Yeah,
that's pretty good. I don't want to see a whole lot of teams doing that.
Some people think the Mets and Cohen are ruining baseball. I think that's how it should be. Owners should be involved in their cities. They should say, hey, I want to actually make this a winning team, not just make me a profit, but I want to be down there in October with a damn ring on my finger saying, look at this, Yeah.
And the Mets have been down for a while, so now it's just, joy in Mudville. Yeah. So that's really good.
Again, we'll come back to the clear losers. Then I have two winners coming out the Central. How many do you have?
One.
Oh, you don't have St. Louis. All right,
I don't. And there's reasons why.
Well, I want to hear obviously your focus on just like what we did with the Braves. Talk about the Cubs first. I know you're excited, but then I will talk about why the Cardinals are a winner, and then you can tell me why I'm wrong. So go ahead, talk about the Cubs because I agree with you.
It's so great. It's the weekend of the Cubs convention this weekend, by the way, and the ownership and the GM said we're not done yet. So right now they said they've got at least two more moves coming up for the Cubs. So they're continuing to add to that team. I think they've done an exceptional job with the guys they've added. They added to defensively. They've added to the clubhouse. They brought in some veteran pieces. The only loss they have is Contreras, and they filled that in with. They're going to have a little platoon system behind the plate that's defensively better than Contreras, but they have left-handed power for first time in a long time. So you're going to have on Sheffield, you're going to have some balls going to Sheffield for first time. They added to the starting pitching. They've added to the bullpen. I think they're probably in the top 3 teams in the National League as far as improvements. They needed a lot of help in a lot of different places, but I think you got to give credit to the GM of the Cubs for the work that he's done so far. And we'll probably add a couple more pieces. I think they have an outside chance of being playoff bound.
I love the hopefulness of you. They're winners for me. They're not at the playoff caliber yet. I would put them more as like 500's a goal for this year. There's a lot of risk on this team, Dad. I think Swanson's the only non-risk that they took this offseason. Cody Bellinger is a huge risk because if he has even a shadow of of the MVP year they had 4 or 5 years ago, he'll be a rock star and may get comeback player of the year. Eric Hosmer's, hey, I'm playing for league minimum, but I also have all this money coming from San Diego. Maybe he's like, I'm self-determination. I'm going to still be good. Tucker Barnhart, I think he had 0 home runs until September last year. More of a glove guy.
That's what they needed apparently. The Contreras was not a very good defensive catcher.
Jameson Tyone has some injury history. Could be great. Could go 11-9. So there's a lot of upside with these guys if things click. But Swanson's a pretty clear. I don't know how he's not your best player on your team. I think he's better than Ian Happ, who's in a contract year, by the way. It'll be very interesting for Chicago at the deadline. Are they trying to contend or sell? And Ian Happ could be available. So very interesting to see which the needle lands first couple months of the season for Chicago. Let me tell you why I think St. Louis is a winner. They're still the best team in the Central. Do you agree with that at least?
Yes.
Okay. So that's hopefully clear. So what they had leaving?
They lose a lot of leadership and I think a lot of chemistry in the clubhouse.
Sure.
I mean, you got lifelong Cardinals that walked away, and I think they're going to miss Quintana very much in that rotation.
Possibly. I think Quintana's not something that I would, again, it didn't really move the needle with me for the Mets to say, Quintana, that's all right, he's a good pitcher. But losing him, I think you're right. I think Pujols had the year he had, but Molina is the presence, right? The leadership, the glove of it all. And they wanted to go opposite. They wanted to go full offense. They wanted to hit. It was a team that struggled with offense, especially in the postseason. They gave him, I thought, a really good contract. I thought he'd get a little bit more because there was few and far between good catchers on the market. I thought, obviously, locking up Arenado to a very team-friendly deal, that's a win in terms of an extension. And it's not an extension, but he didn't opt out. He kept a pretty team-friendly deal. And what should be a full season of Jack Flaherty, as well as a really team-friendly deal with Adam Wainwright. I think there's some fantastic things there. Edman and Donovan will both be playing full-time in the infield this year. They split some time last year. Who's the shortstop? What's DeYoung doing? Is Edmundo Sosa still playing? Their infield, I think, is one of the best in baseball, offensively and defensively. They have a plethora of outfielders. Nootbaar and Yepes, a full season of those guys, too. Again, they didn't move the needle much with Contreras, but they're still winners.
But think about what you just said. The only addition they had...
Contreras is better than Molina. I value offense over than defense. And Pujols having a breakout year is awesome, but I think his numbers are replicatable through all these guys playing full-time. Yeah, we can disagree. Sound off in the comments. Cardinals had a better offseason than the Braves. You disagree. I'm very curious what everyone says. No other winners in the NL, right, Dad?
Not my opinion.
Okay. Let's move to the West. And Dad, how many winners did you have
one
in the West?
I have one.
Really? Oh, what? No, I had one more winner. Hold on, before we move on. I had one more winner in the Central, actually. I had the Pirates as a big winner. Pirates had a massive improvement of their team. Getting McCutchen, which happened yesterday, is great. Austin Hedges defensively is fantastic. Getting Choi and Santana to a little first base DH platoon. I know Rich Hill's old, but he's going to improve that pitching staff and really teach the young guys. Vince Velasquez, also kind of an older guy at this point, but they have a pretty stable rotation for like the first time since like Garrett Cole. They have starters going. They got Connor Joe from the Rockies, who's a great guy in baseball. I know Reynolds wants out of that team, but he's currently on the roster. I really think this team is pretty solid, and will definitely not be dead last this year. Will take some series away from even the Cardinals, the Cubs, and the Brewers. I'm not saying they're going to be a 500 team, but they're going the right direction, and I'm excited for McCutchen giving some more people to go to that great ballpark in Pittsburgh.
McCutchen did a great thing. Apparently, the story is he went to the owner, he bypassed the GM, had dinner with the owner and said, I want to finish my career in Pittsburgh. What can you do for me? And then the owner called the GM and said, make it happen.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay. Oh, shit. I have the Brewers as winners, too. I've totally miscounted. I was already looking at the West. Brewers are winners in similar veins as Cardinals. They slightly improved their team. Initial part of the offseason, getting rid of Renfroe, I said, oh, no. Here it comes. They're going to demolish this whole team. Yelich is next. They keep him. They get Jesse Winker. They get Owen Miller from the Guardians. He's going to be pretty good. I know they got rid of Wong, probably like an even trade there. But getting Contreras for basically nothing is a huge addition. He'll probably play catcher most of the time. There'll be some DH days. I know the Contreras brothers can hit, but they can't really, they're not Gold Glovers. Wade Miley, I think, still a good pitcher, and they got Joel Payamps from the Athletics, also in the Contreras trade for not much, just like a rookie they got in the Hader trade last year. So they have a lot of excess pitching. That's always a good problem to have. If Jesse Winker can maybe turn his, I don't know what it is, attitude or whatever around, there's some positives to this team. They still need pieces, but it's a better Brewers team than it was last year.
Offensively, I think that's correct.
Yeah. Pitching-wise, it only had additions. No one left, so it was just Miley and a reliever. So I got to look at that as moved up a little bit. Okay. Now I'm ready, Dad. How many did you have in the West?
1.
Did you have Padres?
Yes.
Okay. I had 2. I know we were getting the red light or the green light or whatever it is, so we'll speed this up. Dad, tell me very quickly why Padres are winners.
Xander Bogaerts.
Yes, I agree. Xander Bogaerts, Cruz Carpenter, too. We're not sorry about this. We're going much longer than we thought we were. We got to keep this under an hour. That I also had the Diamondbacks being winners.
They did have a good offseason.
With the trades, they got Gurriel from the Blue Jays.
You know what? I did have him as a winner. I'm sorry.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
They had the Blue Jays, Gabriel Moreno as well. They got Kyle Lewis. We talked about him earlier. Maybe he can turn it around. And getting Evan Longoria to teach some of those young people how to be baseball players.
Moreno's a key.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully he becomes something big for that team. Dad, losers. I'm just going to go down my list. We talked about our differential belief on Braves Cardinals. Marlins, Nats. Marlins are trading away talented pieces.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing. Nats, they're like the Athletics. Dodgers are trying to stay under this luxury tax. They had to release Trevor Bauer. That's tough because it's just a waste of money.
Yeah.
The Reds, Moustakas is released. There's no additions to this team. Will Myers is your only addition of your offseason. That's tough.
Luke Biley.
The Rockies are losers. That's all I want to say about them because they are just losers. Giants, connected to all these big names, don't bring a big name back.
Yeah.
Had promises to their fans, and they didn't deliver on really anything.
They struck out a lot.
They struck out more than Barry Bonds did. Those are the losers. Braves Cardinals debate. We'll see kind of what happens. I think both those teams are in the playoffs. Dad, I said the Rangers are the most improved team in baseball. Who's yours?
Mets.
Okay. I would put the Padres above the Mets, but just barely.
Yeah. And then the Phillies runner up. I would like the Phillies, what they've done. Huge.
Yeah. Well, good debates that I actually like that we have some things slightly different about that. Again, Cubs lens coming on the Cardinals. And I like the Braves. I just thought they should have done more. Great. Anything else, Dad, before we close out?
No, have a wonderful rest of the week and weekend, and thank you for listening.
So, I'll push the socials. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We're at Pastime Podcast _, the Father and Son Pastime Podcast on Facebook. And
like us.
Like us and subscribe to our YouTube channel right below. Hit the bell icon so you can see all our new uploads and edits.
Have a great day.
Enjoy what's left of the offseason. Hopefully your team does something to not be a loser anymore.